Resident Evil 3, a remake of the 1999 PS1 classic, is out soon, bringing the escape from Raccoon City and the battle with Nemesis to current-gen consoles. What better way to celebrate than looking back on the moments that best defines the series? Well, let's take a look at 15 of them right here. The first zombie encounter, Resident Evil 1. This is where it all started. Alpha Team takes refuge in a mysterious mansion after a pack of ravenous dogs kills one of their members. From there, the player controls either Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine. Upon exploring the mansion, they see it, a zombie munching on a body and slowly rising to face them, its mangled face apparent. As far as moments go, this would define the horror franchise for years to come. Liquor Ambush, Resident Evil 2. Remember when Resident Evil had the zombie dogs jumping through the windows? Well, Resident Evil 2 did one better. After introducing the terrifying new liquor, the game reminded you that nowhere was safe. Take the interrogation room with the mirror in the Raccoon City Police Department. Surely Capcom wouldn't think of assaulting you here. Lo and behold, a liquor crashes through, ready for murder. Nemesis debuts, Resident Evil 3, 1999. Poor Jill Valentine. It's bad enough that Raccoon City has suffered a T-virus outbreak, turning most of its people into zombies, but on arriving at the RCPD, Jill encounters Brad Vickers, who's violently dispatched by the Nemesis. Dealing with the Nemesis as it sprints and punches Jill before tossing her with ease isn't easy, and unfortunately it's only the start of many more terrible encounters.
Jill!
Brad!
We've gotta... Jill! Help!
No! Brad?
The Chainsaw Man, Resident Evil 4. Several Resident Evil games took their time to properly convey the sheer insanity present, but not Resident Evil 4. Several minutes in, and Leon is in a heated battle with an entire village. Then you hear something revving up. A large man, wearing a burlap sack over his head, comes forward, wielding a chainsaw. Maybe you try squaring up against him, pumping round after round, only to be quickly decapitated. This entire sequence sets up the premise, gameplay loop, and threat of your foes in masterful fashion. Alexia and Alfred, Resident Evil Code Veronica. In Resident Evil Code Veronica, our heroes have to deal with the Ashford twins and their twisted schemes. While playing as Claire, you meet both Alfred and Alexia Ashford at different times, but never together. Eventually, when chasing Alexia, the player finds a discarded wig and dress before being ambushed by Alfred. Alfred, who's wearing makeup, freaks out upon seeing his reflection. Turns out that he was playing both himself and his sister the whole time, even having fake conversations in the mirror. This doesn't mean she's dead though. No, the real Alexia is actually in cryogenic suspension and due to wake up soon. Dr. Marcus is alive, Resident Evil 0. Many might not remember Resident Evil 0, the prequel to the entire series that starred Rebecca Chambers and Billy Cohen. But when Dr. James Marcus was revealed to be alive and eventually outed as the Queen Leech in disguise, the initial spread of the T-virus was revealed for the first time. After being killed by Umbrella, Marcus was reanimated by the Queen Leech and the virus subsequently spread, causing all of the terrible events of the first few games.
Welcome, young ones. So glad you have joined the party. You are the guests of honor. After all, it's your wake.
Who are you? Dr. Marcus?
No, you can't be. What's going on?
Ada's death, Resident Evil 2. The partnership between Ada Wong and Leon in Resident Evil 2 is an uneasy one. Ada is manipulative and cunning, yet Leon just can't help but protect her, going as far as to take a bullet for her. Despite how cold Ada seems, she eventually returns to help Leon, who later returns the favor when she's wounded by the Tyrant. Near the end, when the Tyrant appears to kill Leon, Ada would save him and seemingly die. Though reappearing later in the series and retaining her selfish attitude, seeing Ada give that up made her apparent death all the more heartbreaking. The Cabin Siege, Resident Evil 4. You could easily make a whole list of awesome moments from Resident Evil 4. Among all of these, the Cabin Siege scene is underrated. Leon and Luis Serra are essentially stuck in a cabin and must fight off the Ganados as they smash through boarded windows, prop up ladders to get to the second floor, and essentially swarm the player. Shooting through several Ganados at once with the shotgun as you retreat towards the stairs, chucking an incendiary to stop pursuing foes, and watching Luis duck to avoid your shots is as nerve-wracking as it is awesome. First encounter with Lisa Trevor, Resident Evil 1. There are many tragic characters in Resident Evil lore, and Lisa Trevor is perhaps the most pitiful. Abducted and experimented on by Umbrella for years, Lisa escaped and resides in a cabin outside the mansion. Once you enter, you'll find a strange note about how she misses her mom. That's before Lisa knocks you out. Upon awakening, you see her horribly mutated state firsthand. This is only the first encounter. The last, which sees Lisa discovering her mother's fate, is all the more depressing. Alex Wesker revealed, Resident Evil Revelations 2. Albert Wesker was dead by the time Resident Evil Revelations 2 released. So imagine when Claire Redfield and eventually Barry Burton have to deal with this shadowy figure named the Overseer. It's only when Barry and his partner Natalia find a portrait of Albert Wesker and a young woman that the Overseer is revealed as Alex Wesker. Yes, another product of Project W, and proof that you can never truly escape the Wesker influence.
Wesker.
She's so scary. I can't stand her.
Who? The woman here with Wesker?
That is Wesker. Alex Wesker.
Two Weskers? You gotta be shitting me.
So you finally came. I knew you would.
Piers Niven's death, Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6 is pretty much bottom of the barrel when it comes to the mainline series, but the death of Piers, Chris's partner, was masterfully executed. First, Piers lost his arm and injected himself with the C virus, gaining new electric powers in the process. Pretty badass. When it came time to escape the underwater facility, Piers locked Chris in the escape pod, wanting to go out on his own terms. Even cooler is when the monstrous Chaos attempted to harm Chris and Piers fired one last electric blast, saving his partner again.
Piers! No, don't do this! Open the door! God damn it! Listen to me! We can still both get out of here! There's still time! What are you doing? No, Piers, don't! You can still make it out! God damn it, Piers! No! Piers, open the goddamn door! That's an order!
Jill Valentine returns, Resident Evil 5. The story kind of foreshadows this, but it was still an interesting reveal at the time. When Resident Evil 5 first began, we learned that Jill Valentine died after she and Chris faced off against Wesker. Chris didn't buy it though, and continued to search for Jill while investigating Wesker, Tricell, and the new Ouroboros virus. Eventually, it's revealed that the hooded individual that keeps helping Wesker is Jill under mind control.
I would expect you to be happier to see us. Us. So slow to catch on.
Jill, it's me, Chris.
What? Are you sure that's her?
The one and only. Let's finish this once and for all. I think the odds are fair. 2 on 2. Right, Jill.
Finding and fighting Mia, Resident Evil 7. When you first encounter Mia after discovering what happened to a filming crew in some found footage, there's confusion and shock as to what's going on. This eventually gives way to Mia going feral, assaulting Ethan with a knife before eventually knocking herself out. But then she gets back up and continues the assault, and all of this is before she gets the chainsaw. All in all, a stellar way to start out Resident Evil 7. Mr. X, Resident Evil 2 2019. While Mr. X had a presence in the original, the remake turned him into a damned icon. From his entrance, to the constant pursuits, pushing zombies out of the way, and that dapper headwear, Mr. X was simultaneously one of the coolest and most terrifying things in Resident Evil 2. The Party Room, Resident Evil 7. The other Bakers proved to be monstrous and unrelenting in their respective fights, but Lucas was different. He wasn't controlled by Evelyn, and instead of outright confronting Ethan, he set up various traps and puzzles for him to solve. The Party Room is the ultimate test in this regard, as the player has to light the candles on a cake and deal with a nail-filled balloon, hidden imagery, and that whole deal with the doll and the bloody quill. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.